Hello, beautiful. Welcome back to Glow and Flow Radio. I'm your host, and I am so glad you're here today for the very first episode of season 2. Whether you're on a walk, folding laundry, sitting in a parking lot, collecting yourself, or maybe you're in your driveway, you're getting your mind together before you go inside. I've done that before. Or you're just carving out a few minutes that belong to you. However you got here, I want you to know this episode was made for you. Because today we're talking about something that I think is going to shift the way you see yourself. Specifically, the way you see your exhaustion, your cravings, your anxiety, your emotional eating, and every time you've been told or you've told yourself that you just need more willpower. I need you to hear this clearly before we even get started. Your body is not failing you. Modern life is failing you. Again, your body is not failing you, but modern life may very well be failing you. And today we're going to unpack exactly what that means. I want to start by sharing something that stopped me in my tracks recently. I watched this video by Dr. Seth Capehart. He's an ER physician, former Navy EOD officer, and he has spent about 20 years studying human performance and health optimization. And within the first 60 seconds of watching, maybe 30, I had to grab a notepad because what he was saying was not just medically sound, but it was a direct reflection of everything we talk about in this community. And I kid you not, I actually even watched the video twice. And I made sure to take copious notes so that I could share this vital information with you. And it ties so well into what we do and what we believe at Glow and Flow. And I'll start with his opening. He opened with this, and I quote, "People in their 30s and 40s with health markers of someone in their 60s, they come in with metabolic syndrome, high blood pressure, prediabetes, chronic inflammation, anxiety, depression. And when we look at how they live their life, it's always the same. Sit at a desk for 10 hours, eat processed food, sleep 5 hours, and then repeat. Their body isn't failing them. Modern life is." End of quote. And I may not have gotten that word for word, but I that's the gist of it. It's pretty much word for word how he opened. And that gives you an indication of where we're going with this conversation today. Because y'all, I sat there for a long time, taking it all in, going over the information, making sure I understood, and it just blew my mind. Because how many of us have been walking around quietly believing something is wrong with us? That we're just not disciplined enough, not motivated enough, not strong enough to get it together. We've internalized the exhaustion as a personal failure, the cravings as a character flaw, and the anxiety as something we brought on ourselves. And here is a doctor, well-qualified doctor who works in an emergency room, who has seen what bodies look like when they are truly broken down, telling us that the vast majority of what we're experiencing is not random. It is not genetic, and it is not our fault. It is the direct result of how we are being asked to live. Now, I'm not passing blame. We have to take some ownership in how we choose to move and live our lives. But generally, society is dictating how we are being asked to live our lives. That is significant. And I think it deserves our full attention today. So, we're going to walk through 4 of our 5 glow and flow holistic pillars. That's physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual. And I'm going to show you how what Dr. Capehart is saying connects to the healing work we do here every single day. So let's get into it. Let's start with the physical body, the physical pillar, because this is where so many of us notice symptoms first. Dr. Capehart shared something that I found both fascinating and admittedly a little heartbreaking. For most of human history, we walked 10 to 15 miles a day. We carried things, we built things, we moved at a low intensity all day long with occasional bursts of effort when the moment demanded it. That was just life. However, the average person today, less than 3,000 steps a day. We've gone from walking 10 to 15 miles a day to less than 3,000 steps a day on average. Now, of course, there's outliers. Some people walk more, some people less. But for the average person, this is where we stand. And somewhere between 10 to 12 hours of sitting. Think about it. You get up. Many of us in a rush. We're rushing, trying to get kids off to school, get ourselves off to work, daycare, all the stuff. And we spend our commute time. Then we go to the office for 8, 9, 10 hours. And then we have our commute time home, sitting. And that is causing us to spend a great portion of our day, our waking hours, sitting, being sedentary. That is the lifestyle we as humans, especially in the U.S., have. Now, here's where it gets really important, especially for those of us navigating emotional eating. When you sit all day, your muscles stop contracting. And when they stop contracting, they stop doing their job of pulling glucose out of your bloodstream. Insulin resistance begins to build quietly in the background. Your metabolism slows down because your body interprets prolonged sitting as a sign that something is wrong. You might be sick or injured is what your body's thinking. Because again, we as humans, we're built to move. We're built to move around regularly, constantly. So your body even though many, many years have passed, your body still doesn't understand why you're sitting all day. And it reacts as, oh, something is wrong. She's sick. She may be injured or worse. So it shifts into a kind of survival mode. Inflammation rises, stress hormones stay elevated, and recovery slows. And in survival mode, your body craves fast energy, dense, stimulating, dopamine spiking food. And you know the food that I'm speaking of. The sweets, the salty foods, the kind that is everywhere and designed to pull you in. So when you reach for something you didn't plan on eating at the end of a long sedentary day, that is not weakness. That is a physiological response to a body that has been in low level distress for hours. I need you to hold on to that for a moment. Think about that. Your job, your sedentary job, your sedentary lifestyle has your body thinking that you are in distress. Something is wrong with you. That's what your body is thinking. We've got to help her. We've got to get her a boost, some energy. So we reach for that when we start craving that fast, simple carbohydrate, sugar-laden snack. Now, the good news is that the fix does not require a gym membership or a complicated program. There's nothing wrong with a gym membership, but it is not required to improve your health. Dr. Capehart says, aim for 8,000 to 10,000 steps a day, not because of a fitness app saying you should do it, a fitness guru, whatever the case, but because our bodies are designed for it. That's closer to what our bodies are actually designed for. Lift something heavy 2 to 3 times a week. Now that could be at a gym. It could be at home. It could be a number of places. A park, wherever you feel comfortable, but you need to start where you are. And when we say lift heavy, it's heavy for you. You start what feels, heavy for you, and then you build from there. But don't overdo it and strain yourself and try to go and, lift like you are the female version of Arnold Schwarzenegger. Just use, and I know my listeners have great common sense. That's why you're listening to this podcast. So use that. Do not go out and injure yourself, because I always say if you injure yourself, you hinder your progress. So you start where you are and build from there. Progress over perfection. Remember that. Move in short bursts of intensity occasionally. And if you have a desk job, get up every hour. It's funny, I had started doing that before I even watched Dr. Capehart's video, because I would get stiff and achy when I sat at my desk for long periods, and I learned I need to get up and move. That wasn't from a video, that was from listening to my body. The doctor didn't have to tell me that, and because I felt it. And that's how I know and feel strongly that this research is correct. This information is factual, not only based on the medical data that he provided and his experience and knowledge, but off of my own experience, myself, my feelings, the way my body felt after I started getting up and ensuring that I moved around. It's important. Sometimes I would go outside and walk in the sunlight, and if the weather permitted, other days I walked around the office. Sometimes instead of buzzing someone on the phone, I physically get up and go to their office, because it is important to move. We are designed to move. Walk around, stretch. Let your body know that it is still alive and functioning. Because again, when you just sit around, your body thinks something is wrong. I had a friend, and unfortunately he's no longer with us, but I can remember years ago meeting his mom, and his mom was always in her bedroom. She was in the bed, and it was because she always would say that she didn't feel well, she was sick, just really being down on herself and her health. But no one could explain what was going on with her. She was always going to the doctor. I'm sure, they loved her. But her body was just breaking down. And then I didn't see her for a while. But when I saw her again, she was up and walking around. And the more she got up and moved and walked, she felt better. And so she just continued. She began losing weight. Not that she was even trying. That sedentary lifestyle, laying in the bed all the time, you're not moving. You're taking in calories, not moving. Of course, she put on some extra weight. And without even trying, just from, getting up, moving, she lost some weight. She looked more vibrant, happier. She was getting around, doing things. I was happy for her. I really was. And I share that with you so that to give you an example of how important movement is and how our bodies react when we don't move and how it reacts when we do incorporate movement. And again, 8,000 to 10,000 steps a day. Lift something heavy 2 to 3 times a week. Heavy for you. Move in short bursts of intensity occasionally. And this is especially important if you have a sedentary job. Get up every hour. Walk around, stretch, or both. Simple movements, consistent, and the way our bodies were designed. And for us, within the physical pillar of glow and flow, this is the foundation. Not punishment through exercise, but movement as a form of care. Movement as communication with your body. Movement actually tells your body, I hear you, I'm here. It communicates to your body that all is well. I'm okay. We're okay. I'm not trying to be preachy with this. I just want to give you the information to help you live better. I want you to live better, feel better, be healthy, happy, emotionally resilient. And that leads into the next pillar. We're going to talk about the emotional pillar. And this is one I really want to dig into because I think this is the missing piece for so many women in this community. Dr. Capehart explains that the human body is actually brilliant at handling stress when that stress is short and intense. Something threatens you, your sympathetic nervous system fires, your heart rate goes up, your cortisol spikes, and your body gets ready to respond. The threat passes, your parasympathetic nervous system brings you back down. You recover, and that's it, you're done. That is the system working exactly as it should when stress comes in waves. And stress is supposed to come in waves. However, in our modern life, it does not happen in waves. Stress is not delivered in waves. It's delivered as a constant drip. Constant stress. Work emails before you even get out of bed. Please don't do that to yourself. I was bad about grabbing my phone. Soon as my eyes open, I was grabbing my phone. And I consciously now don't do that. I have blinds in my bedroom. I have a sliding glass door and it's blinds, and I keep them open because I want the sunlight to come in. I enjoy the sunlight, the greenery outside, and just getting up in gratitude and practicing gratitude when I initially wake up. That's part of my daily morning routine. And I know we hear a lot about morning routines, and there's people who have made them overly complicated with some just crazy things and getting up super, super early for really no reason. And it's turned some people off when they hear morning routines. Now it's like, oh, but having an established morning routine is important. And I'm not going to get into too deeply into that. I actually went into more detail in the first episode of the first season on morning routines. I think it was the first. Anywho, you need a morning routine to establish your day. The vibe for the entire day, the tone. You set the tone. You start your day in calm, peaceful gratitude. And it definitely makes a difference. How you start and how you end. Right. Also, other things that is causing so much stress for people. Traffic. I mentioned earlier the commute to and from work. The frustrating commute for some of us. Deadlines, the many deadlines. Financial worry. That's why at Glow and Flow, we include a financial pillar, because financial stress and worry can have an impact on your physical and mental health. So we need to address that, because that's part of holistic care. Addressing all the parts of you. The news, the news, there's so much in the news right now. And that can keep us on a level of stress that's just constant. The comment section of social media, going back and forth with someone, reading comments that upset you, and reading them regularly, keeping you on that constant stress drip. And I would be remiss if I didn't bring up the comparison spiral on social media. We have to get out of that mindset of comparing our lives to what we see on social media. Because as we've learned and as we know, many times on social media, what we're seeing is not reality. Not with money, employment, relationships, vacations, all of it. And I could go down a rabbit hole on that, on how many times people have been found to be faking their life on social media to make you feel like they're doing better than they are. And it's sad that we even have to have people who feel like they have to do that. Because that's not necessary. And I hate that for them. But I also hate it for you if you are comparing your life to theirs. You're not competing with anyone. You don't have to. At the end of the day, you need to live your life in a way that's meaningful to you, that brings you peace, joy, health, and just pure happiness and laughter. But again, I won't go down that rabbit hole. I just had to mention that. Please don't let comparison steal your joy. The mental load that follows you from room to room, even when the workday is officially over. And this is something that I actively work on, because, you leave work, you step through your door at home, and you are still carrying work with you. As you navigate around your house and you're trying to get, dinner ready or help your children with homework, whatever the case may be. It could be a myriad of things, but you're still carrying the mental load from work. And you need to have a separation of work and home. That is important. I had to learn that. Because when work bleeds over into your home life, it can be very detrimental to your health and relationships. You need to establish a healthy work-life balance. And you also want to be a good example for your children who are watching you, because you want them to grow up to be healthy adults. You don't want to teach them that hyperproductivity is the way to go, because unfortunately that is where we are right now. If you're not hyperproductive, you're not doing enough. You're not doing well. That's not true. And that is not the case all over the world, but in the U.S. especially, we have become a very hyperproductive society. And it's not healthy. I'm not advocating for laziness. I'm not saying that you can't be productive. That's not what I'm saying. But hyperproductivity and regular productivity are two different things. What I am saying is that you have to learn how to leave work at work. And you have to set a good example for your children. And you have to be present, not only for your family, but for yourself. That is important. Those relationships are important. And we'll talk more about relationships in just a little bit. Your nervous system is responding to all of it, all of what I mentioned as a threat. But there is no physical release. Again, with fight or flight, when you're going through, when your body is helping you deal with a real threat, it goes through the sympathetic nervous system cycle into the parasympathetic to calm everything back down. But when you're constantly having that constant drip of stress and no physical release, you're not running, you're not fighting, you are just sitting and marinating in cortisol with nowhere for that activation to go. That's not healthy. And here's what it does to your body over time, to put it into more perspective. Cortisol stays chronically elevated. Your body prioritizes survival above everything else. It stores fat, especially around the belly. It breaks down muscle for energy. It suppresses your immune system. It even disrupts your hormones. And your ability to handle stress decreases, so that over time, small things start to feel overwhelming. That's kind of where we get into burnout. Because, it just builds and builds. You have that constant stress. And things just keep piling and piling, and the stress just does not go away. It does not calm down. It does not come in waves. It is a constant. And so it just starts to feel overwhelming. Many times you can even feel wired and exhausted at the same time. And you just don't know why. Can't figure out why. Now, here's the connection I want you to really hear, though. When your nervous system is stuck in overdrive, food becomes one of the fastest, most accessible ways to create a moment of calm. That is not a coincidence. That is biology. Certain foods, especially those high in sugar, fat, and salt, trigger dopamine and serotonin. They create a brief but real sense of relief in a body that is desperately looking for a way down from the ledge. Emotional eating, for so many of us, is not about food. It is about a nervous system that has never been taught how to come down on its own. Healing the eating without healing the nervous system is like mopping up a flood while the burst pipe is still running. Water is just coming out of the pipe and you're just trying to mop it up. You have to repair what's broken. You have to heal what's broken, what needs to be fixed. You can't overlook that. And so many times in fitness circles, gurus, they calories in, calories out. They just look at it through a narrow lens. But many times it's not about food. It's about there are underlying issues that need to be acknowledged and healed. Basically managed better. So what do we actually do? Well, Dr. Capehart talks about building what he calls parasympathetic time into every day. Breath work was mentioned. And I will tell you that I have a number of videos on Glow and Flow Holistics YouTube channel with breath work, meditation, soothing music. And the breath work videos, it starts with a breath work exercise that leads into calming, relaxing music. So you can take a moment for yourself to practice some breath work and then continue the relaxation exercise through music. And you can even continue the breath work, but it's important to practice exercises such as breath work, meditation, things of that nature. Slow walking without a podcast or a phone playing or music. I know that some music is fine, but not jarring music. That's the reason I said no music, and I know I'm on a podcast and it's great information, but sometimes you need to just leave your phone and just go walk slowly in nature. Just take it all in. You don't have to be on all the time. A few minutes of quiet before the morning runs away from you is important, and I mentioned that. You need to establish a calming morning routine. Now, don't make it something else that you have to do and check off and just overcomplicate it. It should fit naturally into your day. Even 5 minutes in the morning and 5 minutes at night consistently can begin to shift your nervous system out of constant threat mode. You can find 5 minutes. I know we are all terribly busy, and I've covered that. We are in a hyper-productive society. But if we're going to heal and be healthy, we have to learn to make different and better decisions for ourselves. So you can find 5 minutes in the morning and 5 minutes at night. And you need to do so consistently. And Dr. Capehart says something I want to repeat. Limit your stress consumption, meaning turn off the news. I mentioned that earlier. Turn it off. Do not just consume all that negativity all the time. Put the phone down. Protect your nervous system like it is a living thing that needs you, because it is and it does. I had to limit social media because it had gotten to a point where my feed was just full of a number of videos, but animal videos. I'm an animal lover. I and seeing, animals in need of loving homes and, or they're being abused, horses being abused it was just horrible to watch. But I couldn't not help the people who are helping the animals. So I was always trying to support, but it was just weighing on me. And the more you interact with things, the more it ends up in your feed. So you can imagine. And that's just one example. So I had to step back and learn to limit social media. Because that is an example of limiting your stress consumption. You need to identify what's causing stress to you in your life and learn how to limit that stress as best you can. Within our emotional pillar at Glow and Flow, this is the work. Not suppressing your feelings, not pushing through, but learning to create safety in your own body so you stop needing to reach outside of it just to feel okay. We're going to create safety within so we don't have to reach for external sources like food, sugary, salty, sweets that we technically probably aren't hungry for. Our bodies are just trying to soothe us, give us a boost. But once we create safety in our bodies, things will shift. Now let's move on to the mental pillar. And I need to talk about sleep. And I need to be a little direct about it because I think we have accepted a story about sleep that is genuinely hurting us. We have made exhaustion a badge of honor. We brag about running on 5 or 6 hours of sleep, and trust me, that is nothing to brag about. That is not a flex. We treat rest as something to earn after we have been productive enough. You don't need to earn rest. That is your right as a human being. Yet, again, we pat each other on the back when we just keep running, constantly on go. And then we wonder why we cannot focus, cannot make decisions, cannot regulate our emotions, and cannot stop reaching for food to prop ourselves up throughout the afternoon or throughout the night. Dr. Capehart lays out what is happening when we cut sleep short, and it is not subtle. The hormones responsible for tissue repair, muscle maintenance, and body composition, growth hormones and others, are produced during sleep. Cut that short and they drop. Your hunger hormone ghrelin goes up. Your satiety hormone leptin goes down. So you are hungrier and less satisfied and craving exactly the kinds of food that spike blood sugar and keep the emotional eating cycle running. And that is not a place where you want to be, where your ghrelin, your hunger hormone, is up high and your satiety or fullness hormone is low. That you want better balance there, and you definitely want your satiety hormone at a good level. And the part that hit me the hardest with this, your prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain that manages stress, makes thoughtful decisions, and regulates your emotional responses, essentially goes offline when you are sleep deprived. So the version of you trying to make healing choices while running on 5 hours of sleep is working with a brain that is literally not fully functional. That is not a discipline issue. That is physiology. So you need to focus on your rest so that you can fully recuperate and your body can restore itself and do what needs to be done, because a lot of maintenance takes place during sleep. Dr. Capehart says chronic sleep deprivation puts your metabolic function at a level of someone 20 years older than you. That's right. 20 years. And I'm sure you don't want that. But that's what chronic sleep deprivation does. If you have been putting in the work on your healing journey and it keeps feeling like you're swimming upstream, I want to gently ask, what is your sleep looking like? The prescription here is not complicated at all. Same time to bed, same time to wake. Have your bedroom cool, dark, and quiet. No screens for at least an hour before bed. No caffeine after 2 p.m. And I had already been working on my caffeine. I do enjoy coffee. I can go without it, but I enjoy a cup of coffee like many people. And sometimes I would have a caffeinated beverage later in the day. I was aiming for 5 p.m. to stop with the caffeine, but I'm going to work towards 2. And notice how my body reacts and see, if it improves my sleep. I think it will. But again, things take time, so you can't do it for a few days, a week, or 2 weeks and be like, oh, no. Things take time. Allow your body time to adjust to the new world order if you choose to make any of these changes, and I hope you do for your own health. And you need to aim for 7 to 9 hours of sleep per night. Not as a luxury, as a non-negotiable foundation that makes everything else possible. Within our mental pillar, this is how we build clarity, emotional resilience, and cognitive strength, by honoring the biological systems that already know how to heal us. We just have to give them the conditions to do the work. Right? Okay, so let's move on to the last pillar in this conversation today, and that is the spiritual pillar. This last one is the one I think is the most quietly devastating, but also the most hopeful. Dr. Capehart cites research showing that chronic loneliness has the same impact on health as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. You heard that right, 15 cigarettes. It elevates cortisol. It suppresses your immune system. It drives depression, anxiety, and systemic inflammation. Additionally, it is one of the most widespread health crises no one is talking about. Now, you may have heard recently, and I say no one, there has been some discussion on the loneliness epidemic. We're starting to hear about that now. And that's because people, are not connecting. They are just constantly on their phones, online. They may interact through a comment section with people, or, via text message or a dating app or something, but they're not connecting on a personal, deep level. It's like we have hundreds, some people even thousands of followers and no one to call. We scroll through other people's highlight reels and feel more alone than ever. We are more digitally connected and more emotionally starved than any other generation in history. I have gone out with friends, even going to lunch with my best friend, and she will be on that phone from the time we get in the car, the whole time. I go to dinner or lunch or whatever and with a group, and everyone's on their phones. I have stopped and just looked. I didn't say anything. I'm just looking because everyone has their phone. And no one's really connecting. And I remember a time when we really connected on a deeper personal level. As a matter of fact, I've never been much of a person to talk on the phone historically. I would like to get together face to face. That was just me. And for women healing from emotional eating, isolation is especially significant because food has a way of filling the space where connection should be. It is comfort. It is company. It does not judge you, does not cancel plans, does not need anything from you. Understanding that pattern with compassion, of course, not shame, never shame, is a critical part of this work. The healing is not found in the willpower to resist food. It is found in the safety of a genuine human connection. And that's what we need to aim for, genuine human connections. Again, going back to when you come home, be present with your family, with your spouse, your loved ones, your friends. Whatever is on that phone can wait. Build genuine connections. Dr. Capehart says it plainly. Put your phone down. Be with people. In person, face to face. A community built around something real. Like a gym, your church, a small group. A circle of women doing the healing work together, such as Glow and Flow. That's why I founded this. That's what I'm aiming to build, a supportive network. Women supporting women. Through hard times, through mental health struggles, through a myriad of things, but yes, it's about holistic health and healing, but it's also about establishing community, a supportive community. And that is why this exists. You were not designed to heal alone, and you don't have to. So let's land this. Dr. Capehart's prescription is simple. Move like a human, like humans were designed to. Eat real food. Manage your stress. Sleep well. And build real relationships. That is also the heartbeat of everything we do here at Glow and Flow Holistics. This is not about overhauling your life overnight. It is about making one small, intentional, consistent shift at a time inside a framework that keeps you grounded and supported. You cannot change the system, the food industry, the work culture, the way the world is structured, but you can begin to opt out of it, one choice at a time, for yourself, for your healing, and for the women watching how you live. You be the example by living better for yourself. If you are ready to stop managing symptoms and start building a life that really works with your biology, I want to invite you to explore the Glow and Flow Holistics app. It was built to hold your physical, emotional, mental, spiritual, and financial wellness in one place, with tools and structure that meet you exactly where you are. You can find it at glowandflowholistics.com. I'll put a link in the show notes for you. Starting to get tongue-tied now. Well, beautiful, that is our episode for today. I want to leave you with this. The exhaustion is real. The cravings are real. The anxiety is also real. But the story that it is all your fault, that you just need more discipline, more willpower, or perhaps more grit, that story is not true. And you do not have to keep carrying it. Your body is not your enemy. It is doing exactly what a brilliant, adaptive human body does when it is living inside a system that was never built for it to thrive. Now that you see it, you can begin to change it, one small step at a time, together. Thank you so much for being here for the first episode of season 2. And if this episode resonated with you, please share it with a woman in your life who needs to hear it. I really would like to grow this community full of supportive women, and I need your help to do that. Even by you listening today is a great help, but if you'll share this video, Lord, if you'll share this episode, and you can check out the videos again on Glow and Flow YouTube channel. And don't forget about our website at glowandflowholistics.com. We'll be happy to have you there. But really and truly, I'm just aiming to grow this, and I'm excited for what's to come in this new season. And please leave a review if you're listening on your favorite platform. It helps more women find this community, and it helps me know the types of questions you have and what you'd like covered. Because again, this is for you. And I, again, thank you, and I will see you in the next episode. Until then, keep glowing and most definitely keep flowing.